The translation is, King Dakṣa said, "My dear Lord Śiva, I committed a great offense against you, but you are so kind that instead of withdrawing your mercy, you have done me a great favor by punishing me. You and Lord Viṣṇu never neglect even useless, unqualified brāhmaṇas. Why then should you neglect me, who am engaged in performing sacrifices?" So, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although Dakṣa felt defeated, he knew that his punishment was simply the great mercy of Lord Śiva. He remembered that Lord Śiva and Lord Viṣṇu are never neglectful of the brāhmanas, even though the brāhmanas are sometimes unqualified. According to Vedic civilization, a descendant of a brāhmana family should never be heavily punished. This was exemplified in Arjuna's treatment of Ashvatthama. Ashvatthama was a son of a great brāhmana, Dronacharya, and in spite of his having committed the great offense of killing all the sleeping sons of the Pandavas, for which he was condemned even by Lord Krishna, Arjuna excused him by not killing him because he happened to be the son of a brāhmana. The word Brahmabandhushu used here is significant. Brahmabandhu means a person who is born of a brāhmana father, but whose activities are not up to the standard of the brāhmanas. Such a person is not a brāhmana, but a Brahmabandhu. Dakṣa proved himself to be a Brahmabandhu. He was born in a great brāhmana father, Lord Brahma, but his treatment of Lord Śiva was not exactly Brahminical. Therefore, he admitted that he was not a perfect brāhmana. Lord Śiva and Lord Viṣṇu, however, are affectionate even to an imperfect brāhmana. Lord Śiva punished Dakṣa not as one does an enemy. Rather, he punished Dakṣa just to bring him to his senses, so that he would know that he had done wrong. Dakṣa could understand this, and he acknowledged the great mercy of the Lord Krishna and Lord Śiva towards the fallen brāhmanas, including even himself. Although he was fallen, his vow was to execute the sacrifice as is the duty of brāhmanas, and thus he began his prayers to Lord Śiva. Om Jnana Timirandasya Kananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The translation again is, King Dakṣa said, "My dear Lord Śiva, I committed a great offense against you, but you are so kind that instead of withdrawing your mercy, you have done me a great favor by punishing me. You and Lord Viṣṇu never neglect even useless, unqualified brāhmanas. Why then should you neglect me, who am engaged in performing sacrifices?" So, today is the appearance day celebration of Advaita Acharya. So I wanted to tie together this verse with the appearance of Advaita Acharya, because it's mentioned in the verse how Lord Śiva, Lord Viṣṇu, they both have the great quality of absolute compassion, unmatched. So we will analyze a little bit about Advaita Acharya's quality as well, along with the Mahavishnu and that of Lord Śiva. Narottam Das Thakur sings Hari Haraya Nama Krishnaya Ravaya Namaha. So Hari Haraya means the Lord who takes away everything. So another meaning for Hara is Lord Śiva. Hara means one who seizes, or the destroyer. So Lord Śiva and Lord Viṣṇu are very similar in their qualities, of course. They sometimes take away everything, even materially, in order to benefit the devotee in the best way. And even Lord Viṣṇu sometimes comes as Śiva. There are there is evidence that sometimes there's a necessity. So Vishnu himself appears as Shiva. Shiva is a different category, of course, but Advaita Acharya, he is Vishnu himself. In the spiritual world, there is Ishana, whose other name is that of Sada Shiva, and that Sada Shiva is Advaita Acharya. So Advaita Acharya, Lord Viṣṇu, and Shiva, their greatest similarities are that they all have the same nature of compassion. So that would be the theme that I'm trying to convey here. That of absolute compassion. So I wanted to present three different aspects of this absolute compassion, that of giving nature of Lord Shiva, similarities between Lord Shiva and Advaita Acharya, and magnanimity. Even though Dakṣa could have suffered for his karmic reactions, he was benefited unlimitedly by getting out of the cycle of karma. And we're going to analyze karma to some degree. So this will be done by looking at the verse very closely. The first two words are very interesting. They have to do with Lord Shiva's qualities. Dakṣa is glorifying him as being just like the earth, very, very giving. Then as far as similarity, in the verse it says Tubhyam Harsha, which refers to Lord Viṣṇu and Lord Shiva's qualities being the same, that of compassion. So Advaita Acharya similarly, he is Sada Shiva and Maha Viṣṇu combined. And we're going to analyze that. He is said to be the nimitta and the pradhana, which is the efficient and the material cause. And then also we'll look in this verse closely where it said, Aho, Aho Bhavata Kvito me. This is another instance of Dakṣa glorifying the magnanimity of Lord Shiva. Greatness. What is Lord Shiva's greatness? It's the magnitude of his mercy. Dakṣa was absolutely astonished by the mercy of Lord Shiva, that despite his offense, only for his welfare, Lord Shiva acted. And even though he felt defeated, certainly, by he lost everything, but he was very pleased because Lord Shiva only wanted his welfare, therefore he only showed him kindness. He could have suffered the reaction of his karma, and that would have been of no benefit. It's just like people are punished, they go to jail, but they come out worse prisoners. So we're going to analyze different stages of karmic reactions from the Padma Purana, how the seed still remains in the subtle form, and therefore we continue to perform the same sinful acts again and again because the desire is there. But the punishment of the Lord or his devotees, they destroy the seed of material desire by opening our eyes. Just as Dakṣa, his eyes were open to what his fault was. So first of all, let's look closely at this quality of being just like the earth, giving like the earth. So the first two words that are given in the sloka are bhuyan anugraha. So bhu, it comes bhuyan, so it's a compound word, bhu and yan. So bhu means giving. Every Sanskrit root is some sort of an action. It's a shakti. So it means to be giving, supporting. So it refers to the earth as a noun. So bhu means the earth, and yan, just like yantra, is a vehicle. So yan means to carry. So what Dakṣa is saying very poetically is that you, Lord Shiva, in your actions are just like giving like the earth. And then he says, to reinforce this, bhuyan anugraha. So anu means to follow. Or in other words, what happens next as a consequence? Anugraha. Graha, it refers to a planet, just like the Earth planet. It means to grab or to draw towards you, or in other words, to influence. So what he's saying here is that you are loving, supporting, giving, just like the Earth. And by your influence, you've benefited me. My son would sometimes tell my wife, said, for God's sakes, you're just like Babita following me around with pots all the time. Because my mother-in-law, she's very, very loving, and she would, every time you'd walk in, she'd want to feed you all the time. So my son would say, Babita, you're following me around with pots. And then he would tell my wife the same thing, can you stop following me around with pots like Babita? So that's the sense of the earth, just nothing but giving. Just like the earth is compared to the cow, the dharma. So the cow, you think of that, the cow only takes grass, takes almost nothing, useless to everyone else, but just eats grass and gives the miracle food, milk. She's so giving that even her stool is beneficial. So in this sense, Dakṣa is addressing Lord Śiva that you are giving just like the earth. Then the next point I wanted to cover was about the similarity. So the next words that are given a little bit later on in the verse are tubhyang harescha. So what this means is that you, Lord Śiva, have such a similarity in your compassion to that of Lord Viṣṇu. And as far as Advaita Acharya, he is Lord Viṣṇu himself. Absolute mercy. Sometimes Advaita, did I say? Today's a fast day, right? It's fasting till noon for Advaita Acharya's parents. If I forgot to say that. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he would lovingly address Advaita Acharya as Nara, which means he's the same as the Lord. He himself is Mahavishnu, and he brought the Lord. He is the source of the entire cosmos. Yet he felt himself incapable of delivering the world. He was willing to destroy the world if the fallen conditioned souls would not take up the service of the Lord. He felt himself absolutely incapable to do this task. Therefore, he petitioned the Lord to come down. And through his loud calls, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally came to deliver the fallen souls. So that Advaita, full of compassion and mercy, he is not only similar, he is in person the Mahavishnu. So to analyze this, I'm not going to spend too much time, but I just want to honor Advaita Acharya and point out that in this verse it's very appropriate to say Tubhyam Harerscha, the same as Lord Viṣṇu. So Advaita, he is the same person, the same Lord, in two aspects, that of the efficient and the material cause. So these are kind of foreign terms, at least for me, because I didn't study philosophy in any depth. But efficient cause and material cause. These are the two closest terms or concepts in Western thought that can be traced back to Aristotle that correspond to Vedic thought. So there's these four causes that Aristotle proposed: the material cause, the formal cause, the efficient cause, and the final cause. So material cause is like the ingredients you get from nature. to produce something. And then the formal cause within your mind, you make a plan for how you're going to transform or utilize the elements, the material causes, and that can go down on paper or hard drive, whatever, in order to communicate to yourself and to others what the idea is. And then there's the efficient cause. You can speak it, you can show your plans, you can pay somebody, you can do it yourself. You get it into action. You actually produce the effect. And then the final cause is what lasts, the result. All of those are causes in some way. In Greek, the Greek word suffix for cause is ation. So, like explanation is to find out what is the cause of something. So in Sankhya, Sankhya has these two concepts of the efficient and the material cause. They are called nimitta, the efficient cause, and the upadana, the material cause. So Sankhya means to analyze. It means to categorize the effect and to find the ultimate cause going through the effects. So the cause, and then that has a cause, and that has a cause. Just like the earth. The earth is an effect. This world. It's tangible. In other words, we can perceive it. Therefore, it's true because it exists. But where did the earth come from? What is its cause? So if we analyze it, we will come to find that its unique quality, its most subtle essence, is that of scent or flavor. So the earth comes from scent or flavor. So if the flavor or the scent is the effect, then what is the cause of that? And then we'll come to find that that comes from water, and then we keep on going back, fire, or, all the way back to ultimately we find the ultimate cause, which is prakriti. As far as strictly Sankhya, analyzing through our faculties, we would come to prakriti is the ultimate cause. So that prakriti has two parts, and that is the nimitta and the upadana. So Maya, material energy, is the nimitta, or the effective cause, because she puts everything into motion. She's the Kriya Shakti of the Lord. Her service is to facilitate the living entities. So she sets everything into motion, and the pradana, or the material energy, before it becomes manifested, that is pradana, it is the ingredient cause. So she is the Kriya Shakti of the Lord, and then the Bhu Shakti is the material cause, or the material elements, the ingredients. So these two things, nimitta and upadana, efficient cause and the material cause, are the concepts that are within Sankhya, the Bhu Shakti and the Kriya Shakti. So in the same way, Lord Viṣṇu also has two aspects, the nimitta, or the instrumental or the efficient cause. He sets everything into motion, and this is the Mahavishnu. This is Karana Dakṣa Viṣṇu. Karani Dakṣa Viṣṇu, out of his mercy, the love that he has for the living entity, he carries, or in other words, he preserves the motivations that we have for fruitive activities, are from past lives, from past creations. He carries those motivations, reminds us of them by activating our subtle bodies. So this is the instrumental cause, or the efficient cause, sets everything into motion. And then as far as the upadana, he is also the material cause. Not that he is material, not that he is the ingredients, but he's the cause of the ingredients, the upadana. So that Mahavishnu, he is an expansion of Sadashiva, whose main function is to create the entire cosmos for us. through the actions of Maya. So that Sadashiva is the supply agent of the ingredients of this material world. And Advaita is both the material cause as well as the motivation for the living entities as the efficient cause. So that's a little kind of technical information I thought I wanted to at least go over in glorification of Advaita Acharya. But what's pointed out here is their magnanimity. That of Advaita Acharya, of Mahavishnu, of Lord Śiva. There's this word, condescending, which now has negative connotations, but actually, previously, it was a word that describes somebody who has great power and influence, is of a higher rank, that is mercifully giving shelter to others. So that is what magnanimity is. Great personalities who have compassion for and love for those who are subordinate to them. So if we analyze this verse a little bit more, it says, Aho. Aho means a great surprise. Aho bhavata krito me. So krito means this you did to me. It's more or less it means force. So just like I was saying, my mother-in-law, and then later on, my son would accuse my wife of following him around with pots. So it's almost like you're being forced to take somebody's mercy. It's krito means to do something to somebody, but when you do it in this sense, you're not just doing it to them, you're doing it for them, for their benefit. So what Dakṣa is saying is that how wonderful is your nature that you have done this to me because you've shown me such mercy. He says, Aho bhavata. Bhava refers to Lord Śiva. Bhava is the Lord Śiva. He's the personification of the material energy in his feature of linga and yoni, his energy. So his nature is nothing but compassion. He is kindness personified. So Dakṣa in this statement is saying, first of all, you're like giving like the earth, and I'm astonished at how you have almost like forcibly given your mercy to me. And in this regards, I wanted to read a little section from Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice. There is this Jewish moneylender by the name of Shylock, and he seems like a reasonable person, and in the beginning of the play it's shown how he was harassed because he was a Jew and hated by the Christians. So at least in the play it looked like he was justifiably being mistreated. But certainly, as far as Dakṣa, he felt very much mistreated, being insulted by the Christians, and so many things happened to him. So in the same way, Dakṣa, just like this guy in the play, the character Shylock, even though he seemed to be a reasonable person, in the end, because he was harassed, he turned like a demon. And the same way with Dakṣa, he felt insulted, and he also acted very harshly. And there was a contract between this Shylock, the Jewish moneylender, and a fellow by the name of Antonio, who was a merchant, that if he couldn't pay back his debt, he was going to like more or less cut his heart out. So this is what was said to Shylock, who had every right to cut out the heart of this merchant in Venice. It was said to try and reason with him. This beautiful statement goes like this. The quality of mercy is not strained. Yes, it can't be forced. The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as a gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It is blessed him that gives and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes a throne monarch better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of temporal power, the attribute of awe and majesty, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptered sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute to God himself. And earthly power doth then show liketh to gods. I'm messing this up a little bit. Liketh gods, when mercy seasons justice. I'm sure somebody else could have done that better than me. Anyway, beautiful language. Read it better than me. So in a similar way, Lord Śiva, he could have simply let Dakṣa suffer his karma. And that would have been no real benefit to him, as we'll see in a little while. It's said here that it's not strained. You can't force it. It's just like gentle rain that comes from heaven. And it blesses. If it's shown by even somebody who has the power to exact all kinds of suffering, but if that person shows mercy, then it blesses not only the person that receives the mercy, but he who gives the mercy. Anyway, beautiful statement. So let's go back to the verse. And then after this, so he says, Bhavato krito me, then dandas tvai mai brito. That a danda means a weapon. So you have given me this weapon. You will punish me, but this is only for my benefit. Shiva's mercy is his danda. Just as Lord Viṣṇu, he has three weapons, Chakra, Gada, Padma, and the Shankha. So it looks like the Padma and the Shankha, the lotus flower and the conch, they give benediction, whereas the chakra and the gada, the Chudasana chakra and the club, they are for punishment. But actually, they're all interchangeable. Either if it's chakra, gada, padma, and shankha, or it's either they can be seen as all being weapons or all being benedictions. Because there's no difference, they're absolute, because Lord Viṣṇu himself is absolute. So similarly, the danda of great saintly persons, what to speak of Lord Śiva, is only for the benefit of the persons that get that danda. So, and then he says, yadapi pralabdaha, which means that even though you could have let me just suffer the ordinary course of my karma. Labda means the attainment of something we want. Just like that word lobha means that you have a strong, greedy desire. You just have to have it. So labda is the attainment of such a thing. So pralabdha means when you get something you really didn't want. In other words, you are punished and you are defeated. So pralabdha means defeat. So even though he was defeated, he would have already been defeated by his actions, by the normal course of his karma. This is the point he's really making here. That you could have just let me suffer by my own devices, but you wanted to benefit me, therefore you have personally chastised me. So I wanted to analyze how karma works in this regards from the Padma Purana. It is said that so even though Lord Śiva he apparently superficially appeared to defeat Dakṣa in every way, actually Dakṣa attained incalculable success, because Śiva can only give success, whereas in the Padma Purana it talks about, it presents the 5 different stages of karmic reactions. So the first one is called aparabdha. So parabdha is when it's fully manifested. You can see it. Whereas aparabdha means it's unmanifested karma. So we remember from what we've studied in the past about the different levels of sound. The highest level of sound is on the level of the soul. The soul is vibrating, and that's called paravak. And that paravak means that the soul naturally wants to enjoy. He's vibrating. I want to enjoy, I want to enjoy, I want to enjoy. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is our nature to enjoy, because we're part and parcel of the Lord. And He only enjoys. But it becomes perverted by the false ego when we fall into this material world where we want to enjoy separately from the Lord. So aparabdha is that unmanifested karma on the most subtle of all levels that I want to enjoy. And then from that comes kuta. Kuta is the innate proclivities that we have. It's desires. This is on the stage of what's called our vasanas. Vasanas are like our likes and our dislikes. It leads us to bijas, or the seeds of material existence. So on this level of sound, this is called pashantivak. So pashanti, of course, means to see. Pashantivak is in our intelligence. We can imagine enjoying. This is the energy of desire, or Jana Shakti. It's just like this. We see an ad sometime, and we get an impression in our mind, and then our intelligence latches onto it. You know, we see an ad sometime for drinking, and it's got a strong guy with his pretty girl falling all over him drinking. So our mind equates, oh yeah, we drink, then we're going to get the pretty girl. So Dakṣa, in the same way, he wants to enjoy, but unfortunately he was overcome by pride. He wants recognition. So his pride, his kuta, or this innate proclivity, has captured him and overcome him. And it leads to the next stage of karma, which is called bija. Bija means seed, of course. So it pushes us to act in a particular way by force. And that force is called our samskara. It's a very, very deep impression that we have that is thrust upon us, either in this life or from unlimited previous lives. So vasanas are like the proclivities, and then samskaras are the impressions that we have. It's a subtle difference. Just like pashantivak is also subtle, more subtle than the next stage, which is called madhyamavak. Madhyama means middle, and it refers to the mind. So subtle difference between the mind and the intelligence. You almost can't tell. But in the mind, we start to make all kinds of plans. So previously, it's in the buddhi, it's in the intelligence, it's our Jana Shakti that powered the will to fulfill our desires, and now it comes to the stage of making plans within the mind, and this is called Jana Shakti. So there is a difference, a subtle difference. Jana Shakti gives us the ability for how to do it. So we make all kinds of plans for how we're going to achieve whatever our goal is. Just like I gave the example, you know, if we're convinced, seeing an advertisement time after time about, you know, you just drink beer, and you'll be a macho guy, and all the girls will fall all over you. So you've got this idea in your head, and then the mind starts to make plans. You know, if you're underage, then you think about, you know, let me steal something out of the parents' liquor cabinet. So you start making all kinds of plans. So in the same way, Dakṣa, he had this pride in him, and then when he was insulted, when his prestige was insulted, he just couldn't stand it. He wanted to get retribution for how Lord Śiva had insulted his pride. So he started thinking in his mind about retaliation, about revenge. And then the next stage is called palonmukam. So mukha is like the face, right in front of you, and pala is the fruit. So this is when you can actually see the fruit of karma. Palonmukam. It's when you actually act on it. Just like if you're drinking, when you steal out of the drinking cabinet of your parents and you actually drink with your friends for the first time. That's the palonmukam, the action. So as far as we were talking about different stages of sound, that would be Vaikari Vak, or the gross act that we commit. So in other words, just like Dakṣa in this, what we're studying here. So Dakṣa, he felt insulted, he wanted to retaliate, and then he actually cursed Lord Śiva in retaliation. And he later didn't even invite him to the sacrifice. So he cursed him in public, and then after that, he further insulted Lord Śiva by not inviting to the sacrifice. And then pralabdha is the last stage. So just as we had the beginning stage is apralabdha, the most subtle. Now this is the most gross, pralabdha. That's when the reaction becomes fully manifest in one's current lifetime, and we can see it, we experience it. So in other words, if we start to drink, then we get the habit, and then we lose our family and our job, get the liver disease, die. That's what can ultimately happen from doing some sort of a horrible activity, a sinful activity. There's different, degrees, and it can lead us down in degradation. Similarly, Dakṣa, he would have fallen. He would have lost everything. He did lose everything, but there's a big difference. He would have fallen down to hell. He would have suffered in so many ways, but by the grace of Lord Śiva, this reaction, this chain reaction, it was broken. He didn't suffer the ordinary course of his karmic activities. So what's the difference? What was it? What was the mercy that Dakṣa received? As far as, and was he just relieved from his karmic reaction? Because he was also killed, his pride was crushed, and he suffered by losing everything that was dear to him. So what's the difference? How was it that Lord Śiva gave him mercy? What was the thing that broke the karmic chain? What Lord Śiva gave was Shraddha. Shraddha. In other words, faith. This is the difference. That's what breaks karma. He didn't just relieve Dakṣa from his karmic reaction by bringing him back to life and giving him a goat's head, or reinstating him as a Prajapati. Just doing that would have been useless. It would have carried on his activities. But he gave him Shraddha. So in order to understand what that means, Shraddha, it's also a dual word, Shrat and Dha. So Dha is just like in Dharma. It means to sustain. It comes from the root word dharayati. Dharayati means to sustain, to uplift. It's something that's innate to us. And then Shrat, it is the same as Sat. Sat means not only truth, but it means something that's real. So Shraddha, when you put those two together, what it means is that it's something that we understand in our heart to be true, that we follow. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Shraddha Mayo Yang Purusha, which means that every living entity is made up, his nature is that of Shraddha, and that Shraddha, it reproduces his existence again and again. So if we have a deep, deep Shraddha or faith that by drinking alcohol we're going to get a girl, and we keep on doing that, and we die like that, in the next lifetime we're going to be a drunk again. Doesn't matter how much we suffered. It's because we have faith in that we're going to do the same activity again and again and again. Shraddha simply reproduces our existence. That's what it does. But Shraddha that we get from Asado is of a completely different kind. Shraddha from a sadhu is a moment of clarity that gives us faith. So we know that Srila Prabhupada explained so many times how when he met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, that he had conceptions, all kinds of he was connected with the Gandhi movement. He had so many misconceptions, and he challenged Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And his spiritual master completely defeated him. And Srila Prabhupada was pleased by this. He was very, very pleased. This is what a sadhu does. A sadhu breaks our conceptions. He gives us faith in such a way that it breaks us from the chain of karma. So just like Dakṣa, he actually felt defeated. He knew that a punishment that was given to him by Lord Śiva was his great mercy. So if we go to the next slide. So it says, Kuta eva drita vriteshu. What this means is drita vrata is a great vow, something very difficult to do. And it always refers to, as far as I know, it always refers to the context of something that is very, very pious. So it says, Kuta, you punish me, even though I'm unqualified, I'm a Brahma Bandhu, you punish me out of your mercy. So even if you punish those that are unqualified brāhmaṇas, just like me, because I'm engaged in drita vrata, therefore, why would you not show your mercy to me? So he's glorifying him there. And this we see, first of all, this is one point, is that in order to correct someone, to bring him to the right kind of mentality, so that he has the right type of shraddha, you have to destroy their ego. So this we see. I've never been in the military, but several times it's been explained to me by people that have been through boot camp and like that, that what they do is they absolutely break down your ego. You fool, you nonsense, you know what they do. They completely break you down, punish you in every way, so you have no ego left. And then after that's done, then they start building you up again. And the point is that that way you can trust the authority down the line of command, so that you will follow orders without question immediately. The same thing is done in the training of animals. I mentioned this the other day in another class given in Honolulu, that to train animals, ferocious animals like lions and tigers and bears, any of them that are ferocious, what you have to do is you starve them practically to death. And when they're weak like that, you beat them severely with all kinds of bats and whips and like that. By that kind of treatment, they become afraid, they lose their ego. And then you can keep them under control. So all they have to do is show the whip. The trainer has to just show the whip or show the chair. And then immediately the lion or the tiger knows who's boss, and they keep on. But one thing is that the trainer has to be very careful that he never shows fear. As soon as the animal, because the animal knows that they're powerful and they can just eat this person, kill him in a moment, but they're fearful of them. Even though they got this much power, still they're fearful of them because of how they've been trained. However, if they feel fear from the trainer, that's the most dangerous thing, because then the animal can turn on you. So what is that fear as far as us? It's doubt. Fear means doubt. And so what is that doubt of? By the performance devotional service, if we have doubts that, is Krishna consciousness real? Is it going to give me what I really want? Is it going to actually benefit me? Maybe I'm losing something from not engaging in sense gratification. That fear of loss, that can kill us. So abhayam is the absence of fear. So that comes from increasing our shraddha. So But there's, just as we mentioned before, Krishna says, Shraddha Maya Yang Purusha. Everyone has faith. You can't exist without faith. So what's the difference between the faith from a sadhu and that of ordinary persons? Is that we have to have the right type of faith. So we know Rupa Goswami, in his description of devotional services, Ada Shraddha Tata, Sadhu Sangha Tata, Bhajana Kriya Tata, Anartha Nivritti Shyat. So when he's describing all these different stages of advancement in devotional service, he says Tata, 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 one after the other. They just happen consequently. But when he gets to Anartha Nivritti, he says Anartha Nivritti Shyat. That's the only time in this description where there's a junction. Shyat means it may happen. It may happen, it may not happen. At this point, because we can have the association of devotees, we can take initiation, we can live in the association of devotees, but until we take the step of getting rid of our anarthas by our own endeavor, by showing our sincerity, we may not advance past that for a long, long time, if ever. So we have to have the grace of a saintly person and then put our own endeavor. So bhakti, as Giri Govardhan many times points out, which comes from the writings of the Acharyas, especially Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, that bhakti is so powerful that it doesn't even require faith. It doesn't require shraddha. Just like we have Ajamil, who had no understanding of the holy name at that point. He had no faith in the holy name whatsoever. But was he delivered? Yes. He had no faith, but still he was delivered. The same with Putana, wanted to kill Krishna. But she got liberation. How? By the mercy of the Lord. So bhakti is so powerful. The Lord being so merciful, He can award bhakti. But that type of bhakti is not in the higher realms. In order to get the proper type of bhakti, it requires something else. The higher realms of bhakti are called ananyavak, or pure devotion. These are the loving, real loving, deep loving exchanges. We can even go to the spiritual world and be liberated and see Lord Viṣṇu. Every once in a while we can see him come out of his palace, have a festival like that, and then we can go on with the rest of our lives. It's just like the conception of heaven in Christianity and in Islam and many other religions. But to get to the ananyava, to the higher realms, where we have a deep, loving relationship of exchange of love between the Lord and ourselves, that requires faith, shraddha. So there's two types of faith. We're not going to go over this because we don't have time. We're running out of time. There's swabhaviki shraddha that we've spoken about before, and then balat uparita shraddha, which is these names are given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami. So balat parita shraddha means it's forced on us. We're just part of the society, born into a certain religion, and that's our religion. We're concerned with really material things. And we don't endeavor to become advanced. Whereas swabhaviki, we don't feel like it's something we're born in, we're just forced to have that. Swabhaviki means it's within us. It means we want to advance in devotional service, and because it's based in Shastra and our internal longing to advance, that's the proper type of shraddha, and that comes from a saintly person. So I'm almost done. Here's the next slide, and this too, in order to emphasize this is a famous sloka from Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Pada 1, verse 20. It goes, Shraddha, Virya Smriti, Samadhi, Pragya, Purvaka, Iteresham. So, Shraddha, for any yogic practice, even if you're whatever yoga you perform, one has to have shraddha in order to advance. He even says samadhi pragya. It helps you from the previous lifetimes. Purvaka itareshu. These persons already from the previous lifetimes, they have had advancement, and it helps them in their samadhi. Shraddha is absolutely necessary, because Shraddha gives virya, it gives strength to our performance of devotional service, and also smriti. Smriti means we get the intelligence, the remembrance, to understand devotional service. There's a commentary of the Yoga Sutras done by Srila Vyasadeva, and in the commentary he has this wonderful verse that goes like this, explaining this 20th verse from Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. It says, Chaitasa samprasada, Shraddha chaitasa samprasada, jananiva, kalyana, yoginam pati. What this means is Chaita prasada. Just like it was, gave the example of Srila Prabhupada, talking about his own experience when he met his spiritual master, that he was defeated, but he was happy for it. Chaitas prasadanam means when you have a moment of clarity, calmness within the mind. You feel relief by being defeated by the sadhu. And I think probably all of us have had this experience that, we have like some sort of a bad accident or deathly sickness, or our pride is absolutely crushed. We feel that, whoa, what a relief. That this was really Krishna's mercy. This was our Guru Maharaj's mercy that I've been put in this situation. And you get a clear understanding that, yes, this was good for me. That's called Chaitasa Samprasada. And then it says, Janaiva Kalyana Yoginam Patihi. So this refers to that Shraddha is just like a loving mother. So this very well ties into what we're reading about here, Dakṣa's description of Lord Śiva. That just like a loving mother protects, always trying to benefit the child. If the child becomes separated from the mother, what hope does that child have of sustaining himself? He's lost, and he'll probably die without the mother's help or someone else's help, but especially the mother, the loving mother. Shraddha is like the loving mother that gives us virya and smriti. It helps us in so many ways. Was absolutely essential to our yogic practice, whatever that is. And then in closing, lastly, is just as Kapila said, that we just covered in the third canto, where it says, Satam Prasangam, by the Association of Devotees, Prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hrit karna rasayana kata. That taste that we get for hearing about the message of the Lord, that comes from the association of devotees, and he describes it as rasayana. So rasayana is something very, very sweet, and it means something very, very special, and something that benefits us greatly. It's just like a tonic. If you have a disease, if you want to be immune from the disease, you take a tonic. Similarly, Shraddha will carry us through all of the ups and downs that we will experience because of our anartha nivrittis. So it's very important to get the Shraddha from a saintly person, and that is what Śiva gave to Dakṣa. This momentary focus, understanding that I am wrong and I'm happy that I was punished like this. So we've tried to show these different aspects of absolute compassion. Giving just like the earth, the similarity of absolute compassion between Lord Śiva and that of Viṣṇu in the form of Advaita, because Advaita is a combined form of Mahavishnu and Sadashiva, and that of magnanimity, that he was not punished in the ordinary way. Dakṣa received the mercy of Lord Śiva. Otherwise, he would have had to suffer the ordinary course of his own karma. But that karmic reaction was broken. Even though he suffered, he felt defeated, but he was happy to be defeated because he received the mercy of Lord Śiva. So that was my presentation. I hope it made sense. I hope the slides were helpful as well. And I've unmuted everybody.
Ram, your description of the beating down the animals, boy, that for an animal lover, which I am in many ways, I thought, wow, that was pretty heavy. Starving them and then beating them to where there's no, there's sort of fear and false ego is broken down. Anyway, it was kind of running through my mind. I was wondering if you think it's any sort of parallel. It seems like being in the material world, Maya's job is to sort of be like that, to sort of starve us of real love and any type of enjoyment, because there is no real enjoyment here. And this kind of beats us down, so we're finally at that level where some genuine humility comes into our heart and we can actually ask the questions. Who am I really? Why am I suffering? Amai tapatroi. Ke amikani amai tapatroi. Who am I and why am I suffering so much? Anyway, that sort of ran through my mind as you said that. But it seems like the material nature is kind of like that. In one sense, it appears very cruel, but at the same time, is ultimately very merciful. In that it breaks this false ego ultimately in time, and we turn to Krishna.
That's a very nice analogy. I hope you don't mind me just giving one little challenge. It's not done. I hope I'm not coming off as being puffed up or something like that, which I am. But well, the thing is that Krishna. The point I was trying to make about that verse in the Divisions of Faith, Shraddha Mayo Young Purusha, that everybody has faith, and that's what pushes us again and again just to reproduce the same thing. So we can be punished again and again and again, just like people go to prison almost their entire life, and then what do they do as soon as they get out? They do the same. They go back to crime again. The same thing. They don't know what else to do with themselves except crime. As soon as they get out, it's very, very rare for somebody to get out of prison and actually be reformed. So why is it that some people get reformed and others? Most people do not. And the reason is because of sadhu. I just want to emphasize that point, that it's only by the association of a sadhu that we will break the cycle. Otherwise, just by being punished by material nature is not enough. Otherwise,
maybe it is that, let's say, to tie together what I said and you said, is that it breaks us down enough that we're ready for the sadhu. That we're ready to, we finally become humble enough, beaten down enough that Krishna recognizes in the heart, yeah, he's ready. Then sadhu comes, and then the journey begins.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, because unless we're disgusted with the material world, there's nowhere we're going to have the motivation to get out of it. And Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that again and again, that in order to get out of this material world, we have to have a disgust with it. Can't cultivate spiritual life otherwise.
Not the Prayaschitta, that didn't work. Is it along that same point, unless you get the mercy, then the Prayaschitta, that they could give people a way to counteract the reactions, but it doesn't really. So is Trinata Pisanichina, that's the element there that comes about.
Can you explain further?
That one should chant in a humble state of mind. Doesn't give you a lot of directions on how to develop that humble state of mind. Your class helped a lot, but it was a nice point that you pointed out about the anarthas to go on from there. You had to have. How did you explain it again? That there was, it wasn't that it necessarily followed. There was some kind of change of heart that was required.
Right, because Rupa Goswami, he says tata tata tata. Everything comes in sequence, except when he gets to anartha nivritti. Then he says anartha nivritti shat. It may happen and it may not happen. That's the junction point. That's why it's so easy to get stuck for years, trying to get past anartha nivritti. Once we get past it, then tata tata tata, everything comes in sequence. But that's the real junction. So that takes really
that tatenu kampam verse, that is the transition that's taking place in there, or yeshaham anugranami. It seems like there's a couple of those things right around that point. If Krishna likes you, you're getting the special mercy. But I guess part of that special mercy is that you're seeing the special mercy. Otherwise, it can be happening and you're just kind of bummed out.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
I'm sorry. That's good.
I'll tell you the truth is, every time I get my ego crushed, I go, ouch, that hurts. I don't go, yeah, that was great. Actually, the only time I've had that experience is when I really get smashed, like I'm almost dead or something.
How about your shoulder blade for the surfing? Did that help a lot or what?
Say that again?
Your shoulder, was it that you were in the water and you hit your shoulder blade or something? You broke your shoulder?
I'm a walking disaster. Yeah, I've had many. That was one of them. I've had other close calls with death. So those somehow or other, those are the ones that really affected me in a good way. The other ones with the toothaches and getting nauseous, it's just miserable. Or with the speaker, when somebody crushes your pride, painful. But anyway, if we were actually advanced, we would see every one of those as an opportunity. So, keep
a couple of thoughts. Ramananda Prabhu.
Yeah.
Interesting class. So, one quick question. Was Bhaktivinoda Thakur from Harinam Chintamani, this Bhavika Shraddha? Is that where that came from?
You know what? I have it in my notes, and I don't remember where everything came from. I just don't have that kind of a brain. I'd really have to
No problem. Okay, anyway, the prison system is corrupt in the United States. It's not really set up to reform the prisoners. In other countries, they do it differently. They train the prisoners, give them opportunities for employment. They actually help them get jobs when they get out. But in the U.S., they stigmatize the prisoners as felons. They make it harder for them to be legal after they get out, so they end up going back. And also, to compound it, they've privatized the prisons now for profit. So it's business, and they have an interest in cheap labor, prison labor, and it's really bad. So going to the animal analogy, it reminded me of my brother and I. We went to SeaWorld, and part of it was this guy with the big cats. So he had he's in a cage, and he's doing different things with hoops and flames and this thing and that thing. But at the end, he had all the cats leave the cage except for one lion. And then he turns to the audience and he tells them that he's been able to teach this lion, he's got a full mane, a behavior that no other lion in the world performs. And so he pulls out the piece of meat or whatever, and he's got the whip,
and he has the lion stand on his hind legs, and he's got his paws in front of him, kind of drooping. And then the lion is shuffling forward. He's like on his hind legs, you know, in a total kind of begging kind of pose.
Uh-huh.
And when I saw that, I saw the lion, I saw the expression on the lion's face, and he was so embarrassed. He knew that body was meant for something else, you know, it wasn't meant for this, but he had been degraded to this point where, you know, with the whip and a little meat, he's willing to do that. Anyway, they're self-aware, you know. Like you said, if there's fear, they can smell it, actually. If there's fear, it triggers. It's a trigger because they're powerful. So also one thing, Dakṣa was a king. It's, you know, it's mentioned, King Dakṣa is mentioned in different, you know, and although he gave his Sati somehow became enamored. Became enamored to Shiva. She wanted to marry Shiva, and then Brahma told Dakṣa, give her to Shiva, and he was resentful for that. So that was part of what put him over the top at the sacrifices. He already resented Shiva. He had some. He was envious, or he had some malice towards him. He didn't like him, and because he just didn't like the way he was, and so he's a king, and he's in all this opulence, and so it's interesting, you know, just by virtue of being son of Brahma. Of course, Dronacharya was the father of Ashvatam, and he's a martial arts teacher, but Brahmins are teachers also. So I guess you can be both, meaning he knew martial arts well enough to train the princes. So I guess Brahmin means teacher is another way of looking at it.
You know, you brought up something I was also thinking about. I just brought this up on the screen. So the last word that he says is Kuta eva drita vriteshu. So that shows that he was performing great sacrifices. He was extremely qualified personality. So much so that he was he was like the leader of the universe. He was almost, you know, just below Lord Brahma, being a Prajapati. Very prestigious position. So it wasn't that he wasn't a great personality. It wasn't that he wasn't pious. You know, like he was some sort of a sinful person or something like that. He was very, very elevated. But just like the example I tried to give about the lion, you know, you can train it in so many ways, but as soon as we, you know, show some fear, in other words, we give it just a little bit of a gap, then it's very dangerous. So what happened to him is that he let pride get the best of him, even though he was really, really qualified in every way, but still it dragged him down, that one little bit. That's what I was trying to, the point I was trying to make about the trainers, that if they show fear, then even though they've done so much work to beat down the ferocious animal of the ego, as soon as we start to slip up, then it can be very, very dangerous. You know, we can be performing.
Actually, you're reminding me of it was the other Brahmins who didn't speak up when he's obviously misbehaved, and he's not, you know, properly respecting Lord Śiva in the assembly, and the fear is coming from, it's not coming from Śiva, but it's coming from the other Brahmins that are present. They don't want to object. They don't want to correct them. So he's wielding some power over them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. for sure. Yeah, he was a very, very influential person.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you, Prabhus, very much for coming today. Don't forget, it's a half-day fast, and this whole week is full of a bunch of different festivals that are coming up. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ramananda Prabhu, for a nice class.
Jai Srila
See
Prabhupada.
everybody tomorrow.
Yeah, Hari Bol.